What's going on, YouTube? Killazilla back with another Crossout video. Now, this video is going to be way different because we're talking about drones, aliens, invasions, the state of New Jersey, where I happen to live. I'm living here. I've seen it. I know what's going on. Well, I think I do. I'm pretty sure I do. I have a couple of ideas. Let's get in there. As well as the ideas that we're going to be talking about, I do have a little surprise, a little build I made. Nothing fancy, but it's funny. So let's get in there. Let's talk about what's going on in New Jersey. And maybe we'll do a little alien invasion of our own. Now, before we get to the gameplay, I want to preface this by saying I believe in aliens. They are definitely out there somewhere. Whether they're more intelligent, less intelligent, who knows, right? And if they are more intelligent and they know we exist, I doubt they want anything to do with us, okay? If anything, we're probably looked at as dangerous and like a virus that will inevitably wipe itself out, right? So if anything, maybe they're observing us and waiting for us to kill ourselves off so then they can take over the planet. But other than that, you know, you have to think if there's such an advanced, like, peaceful society of whatever alien species there is, one death is probably like a tragedy, you know, like violence probably doesn't exist at all over there. So let's say they land and somebody gets out of hand, whether it's the military or some crazy dude with guns or whatever, and an alien gets shot and killed or a spaceship gets shot down, right? Like, they're not willing to risk that. You know, they probably, again, are extremely advanced, so they have a planet or multiple planets, and they don't need this, you know? If anything, we are probably more like a TV show where they just watch us and, like, these dudes are ridiculous. Like, this can't be real, you know? I'm sure that if aliens exist and they observed us, that at some point they thought that they are on like a prank show, you know? Like, this isn't real, right? This planet doesn't really exist, does it? Because the things that are going on, especially nowadays, are ridiculous, right? But I always say we can't really speculate on aliens because there's no example of aliens at all, right? Even like, you know, back in the day, UFOs, but now they're called UAPs. Even those are just an example of an advanced aircraft. There's no alien that goes with it. You see what I'm saying? That we know of. So we can't really speculate at all on the aliens because if anything, we only have an example of an advanced aircraft. So we can speculate on that. And that's what I'm going to do now with the drone thing because, you know, there's videos. I've seen videos. I've heard people that I know personally talk about them. I've seen something weird like 2 days ago. And we'll get into all that. And then the speculations that I've heard are either like not fully explained or like maybe I furthered it, but we'll get into that. I also have two really good ones that I just completely thought of that probably make more sense. But again, we'll get to that. Now we're going to go over my drone, UFO, UAV, spaceship, aircraft, alien vehicle thing. So this is actually an idea that I had, I don't even know, maybe a week ago. I started posting the blueprint in the chat. So if anybody's seen it, it's because one day I was looking at this cab, this wonderful, wonderful jawbreaker cab, and I noticed there's slots in the bottom of the cab, and like, there's got to be a way to mount guns in there, right? At first I thought I was going to put like missiles in there. Like the tow missile was the original thought, and then I was like, maybe I can put like the pyralids in there. But then I ended up just going with these, the old synthesis energy weapon. Now, I would have went with Helios, but because this is more of like a jokey art build, I didn't want to go into a crazy high power score game. So I went with the synthesis fused with resistance damage, projectile charge time, and rotational speed. I only have the rotation speed on there because the way that they come out, and then like you have to kind of lead the target and stay on target, it helps to be able to lead them quicker rather than have like a little drag to your rotation. But, you know, I'm sure other people will disagree, but that's, for me, it works. Right now, they are, like, fixed mounted inside, so you can't really spin them. So, on this build, it doesn't really make sense, but that's the fuse we have. Neutrino scope with durability and 20 to zoom. The jawbreaker cab is mass built-in radar with mass limit. I do have a power unit with negative mass, projectile speed bonus, and delay while switching. I don't know why I just deleted that. Then I have a Dunhorse engine with durability bonus to power. So we're looking at like 3,500 HP, 6,000 power score build, which will probably be put in like a 7,500 power score. Now I have a ton of lights all over the car. I have these little Ravager eyes. I have some flares, just for like, you know, a dramatic effect. And then like the aircraft spray, which is pretty cool. It actually does look like bolted on sheets of metal, which I do like a lot. And then these three little props, which are durability and acceleration efficiency, which is fantastic. Okay. So this is what we're going to be using. This is our build. And we're going to be obviously having to play with mechs and other aircrafts. Now, I also, you know, I was going to make some type of aircraft either way because swarms are just getting ridiculous, right? Like, it's getting old at this point. I have a lot of fun playing with them, but when, like, everybody in the game is a swarm person, it's not the same, you know? So, like, my thought was, let me just take the fight to the sky, switch it up a little bit, you know, or make a mech. And then when I thought about making something that's going to fly, the drone thing popped up. Something happened that was brought up this morning, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a drone video, and I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to have some gameplay while we're at it, you know? So that's where we are. Now, let's get into the theories. So, everybody is like, oh, how can they be aliens? They have propellers. No, aliens wouldn't use propellers. Well, again, like I said, how do we know what aliens would use, right? Like, we don't know what they would use. And you'd have to also assume that in space, there's no gravity. So whatever their spaceship uses for thrust and the ability to be mobile, maybe it doesn't hold up in an atmosphere that has gravity. You know what I mean? Maybe they have like a mothership floating above us that we're not being told about. And there's little drones with propellers coming down and checking stuff out. That's a possibility, no? Now, you know, that would be like, oh, if they're aliens. Because everybody does that. The biggest argument is the propellers, right? It cannot be aliens because they have propellers. Like, that doesn't mean anything. We don't know what the aliens would use. And again, they could be just as advanced or more advanced and still use the propellers. Because the reality of it is we use propellers and jet propulsion because that's what works in our atmosphere. This thing is super heavy. I can't get above this guy. I'm done up. There's nothing I can do here. I can't aim up, and I can't, oh, man. I am eating damage, though. I'll lure him into my team. It's so heavy, bro. I can't move. Oh, shit. Crash landing. Yeah, so again, that's the whole thing about the whole alien thing, right? And then my thing was, and this is like the first thing I said when I heard about all this, which is funny, because I said it as a joke, but then the more I thought about it, I was like, that's probably something that could have happened, or is happening. Imagine if some drone company, whether it's a new drone company, an old drone company, they made these really cool big drones that they have that are super expensive, so nobody's buying them. And then they're like, damn, we're about to go bankrupt, man. Nobody's buying drones anymore. So imagine they just started flying their drones around, and they're causing this whole panic, and it's like an aggressive advertising campaign, you know? So now everybody for Christmas, all the kids and all the men with wives are like, yo, I need to buy a drone for Christmas. I gotta buy a drone, man. Time for us to all get drones. Can you imagine? Imagine if it really was just like a marketing ploy to get everybody to start buying drones for Christmas. Like the timing. The timing is almost a little bit too perfect. But, you know, that obviously seems like crazily far-fetched because then you have like the government denying, like, or not denying, but kind of like playing it off like they don't know what it is. But at the same time, you would think if it's an advanced drone company, wouldn't they have the technology to be able to like fly under the radar a little bit, you know? And if the drone companies are the ones putting in those trackers, what if they just don't put it in? What if they just have a fleet of drones that don't have a tracker in them, and they're flying them around and they're causing this problem, you know? But, you know, again, that's probably far and few between. It's probably just as much of a chance of aliens as there is with that. I should have got the egg. Damn it. I should have got the egg, man. And then the next one is this, and I'm gonna use this one next because it's like the most recent. Is supposedly some 3-letter organization like DGB or 546 or something crazy, right? Like FBI style shit. Men in Black, MIB. They came out and said that there's like nukes missing or like a nuclear submarine missing, and you know they've been searching for these nukes, and there's some supercomputer that made they ran like a simulation, and they made a guess that before or right after Christmas there's going to be some type of like terrorist attack or something, and like that lines up with like this nuclear thing going missing. And then they started saying it was a nuclear submarine that went missing, and then I go, that kind of tracks. Or maybe they came up with that excuse to cover, because the main thing, you know, everybody knows the Jersey Shore, right? The main thing is they say that the drones are coming from the water, supposedly, right? But then again, like, whether they're going to or coming from the water, everyone's just going to assume they're in the water, you know, because that's been speculated before about aliens. They live underwater. Or when they come to visit, they go underwater. Which, if you think about, makes sense, because super deep down, the pressure is crazy where we can't get down there because we don't have the technology. It's the same thing with space. Space's pressure is like the same thing. You're dealing with extreme pressure on the hull of your aircraft, right? So whether you're in space or you're in like the bottom of the Marianas Trench, you're going to be facing some severe pressure. So if you can fly through space, you can probably fly to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. You know what I mean? And it seems safe because, like I said, like we can't get there. So they can kind of just hang out and not have to worry about nothing, you know? So that kind of makes sense. But then again, this is what I'm thinking about with the, if a nuclear sub went missing, right? It would make sense that the drones are flying over the water and scanning and trying to find the sub. So in reality, they're not coming from the water. They're coming back from the water. Because they're going out, flying over the water and scanning. And then they're about to run out of battery, and then they come back. See, that kind of makes sense. Again, that's like way more scarier. I'd almost rather deal with aliens than deal with like a missing nuclear sub with some like crazy nut job that wants to kill us all. Like, that's insanity, you know? I feel like you have a better chance to negotiate with an alien than you do with some like crazy idealistic terrorist, you know? Because they got their mind made up, they have their beliefs, and like they're gonna die for their beliefs, and like that's scary, you know? You cannot reason with that type of thinking, you know? Because the reason why they think that way, that's what got them there. Their brain is already so obsessed in that way of thinking that there's no talking them out of it. There's no changing it. It would take like a miracle of God most of the time to change people. Even sometimes you'll hear like people who are like raised in like cults and stuff like that, you know? It's like the Stockholm syndrome, where like they were raised on it and they were taught about it for so long that they just believe it. And even when they know like, yo, this isn't right, this is wrong, they still can't help but to not think like that, because it's just how their brain was programmed to think. You know what I mean? It's very weird. But yeah, that's very scary. Let's hope that it's not that. That would be absolutely terrifying, right? So now the other thing is, oh man, New Jersey is a wild place, okay? And I'm sure people have seen a lot of videos with, oh, those are just straight up airplanes, dude. You know what I mean? Like, those are not UFOs. Those are not drones. Those are airplanes. Yes, that's definitely happened. It's actually happened way too often. It's happened so frequently that the cops had to make an announcement, basically saying like, "Hey, if you only see one, just don't even call us, because the majority of the time you guys are calling us about airplanes." You know what I mean? Because initially, you have to remember, when this first came out, it was all about like a swarm of drones. Ironically enough, a swarm of drones, like a big line of them coming through, right? So if you just see one flying through the sky and it has a red and green and white blinking light on it, that's an airplane. I had a boat license at one point. I'm pretty sure the same goes for the air, where green is I forget which side is which, but one side's green, one side's red, so you can tell whether they're going away from you or they're coming towards you. You know, it's like the same thing for boats. Now that definitely happens a lot, right? But then again, there are videos that are obviously drones. Like you can hear the propellers, you can see them. They're 100% drones. So how do we explain that, right? Well, multiple reasons. Maybe, just maybe, that this did happen. There was like some weird drone club that had a big swarm of drones at one point. They were the initial report. They're the ones that started this whole thing, right? And then ever since then, people have been either mistaking airplanes for drones, or other people are flying drones looking for the drones, and then people are seeing their drones. And those are the drones that are being recorded, right? You know, at this point, it's a giant shit show. And the reason why it really is such a shit show is because the government isn't helping at all. They're giving us no useful information, you know. It almost as if they don't give a shit. They just don't care, right? Now, there's another idea. See, I like to look... I was very big into, like, debating in high school. And the biggest thing is this. You need to study both sides of the argument always, so you can be ready for a comeback, right? So if I know the points my opponent's going to make in the debate, I can have counter points ready to go for whatever he says. You know what I mean? So I always like to think from like other people's perspective, right? So, okay, why is the government not saying anything? Why are they being so nonchalant and as if like this doesn't really matter, you know? Well, my thought would be they're flying over military bases. Like, that's insane. That right there should tell you something's wrong, because there's no way. Listen, my friends ran out of gas and like just happened to like run out of gas right in front of a military base down in Ocean County. And he was arrested for running out of gas in front of the military base, right? Now, that wasn't the entire story. I'm not going to put his business out there. But let's just say it caused like 5 cop cars to come, and then that just escalated and turned into a big debacle, right? But like literally, like you can't be just hanging around military bases. That's not a thing. They don't allow that, you know? And especially flying drones over. And then to top it off, the Russian-Ukraine war, I've seen a lot of video footage of bomb drones where they're literally just flying C4 strapped drones into people. Anybody can do that. Like literally anybody can make one of those things. You know what I mean? You're going to risk that over a munition stockpile in a military base? No, you're not going to allow that to happen, you know? It's crazy talk. Absolutely crazy talk. So why would they allow it to fly over the military base? Or why would they not really get into like, we need to stop this, right? If it's literally invading our armed forces. It's literally infiltrating our armed forces bases, right? Think about it. What's the most funded thing in the United States right now? Like governmental wise, like the government wise, right? Like our taxes and everything. Like, where's all the money really go? In reality. And I'm talking about not just like, oh, this gets more than the rest. No, this gets significantly more money than anything else, right? It's the military, right? So again, we're not incompetent militarily. Our military is not incompetent whatsoever. We have the craziest advanced shit that like the majority of countries could probably gang up on us and we'd still wipe them off the planet. Okay? We got it like that. We really do. So there's no way we're going to have some Walmart drones flying over and not know how to take care of it, or not take care of it at all. And again, people were saying, oh, they're the size of cars. And I've seen 2 videos where they were gigantic, right? Well, what if they're military drones? They're not going to tell us. Why would they tell us? If they tell you and me, that means that the terrorists that everybody talks about and all the other enemies of the United States, they see that shit too. They 100% will know what's going on, because when you tell the public includes the bad people as well, you know? Public information means now not just, the good public people get to find out. No, everybody in the world now gets to find out. So if the military's got this new big drone that has the capability of dropping some crazy bomb payload that other countries don't have, they're not just going to go around and tell people about it. It's not going to happen. And if there's video footage of it online, they're probably going to go and do everything in their power to get that video footage off. They're going to make it disappear. They don't want you guys seeing it and copying it and knowing it exists. It's the same thing with like the B-2 stealth bomber. Like, it's secret stuff. It's secret military stuff. Like, that's common sense. That just, and you know what, I laugh when I think about that because I'm like, that makes the most sense out of all of this stuff, right? The government's not talking about it. It's being allowed to fly over military bases. They're mainly seen at night when they usually do like covert stuff. It's usually night operations. So why wouldn't it be that? Like, what is leading? And you also, again, have to think through the counter. So if that could be it, why couldn't it be it, right? So why couldn't it be the military? Well, this is the reality of life, right? Whenever military things go on, they usually communicate with the police, right? So, you know, the entire police force doesn't need to know, but like the chief or the captain needs to know. So if they get 911 calls and then the chief knows what's going on, he can be like, no, don't worry about it. I know what's going on. Disregard. You know what I mean? Or else you'd have a panic. And the worst thing would be is to have the military doing some type of testing, the local police not know about it, and then those police going crazy and shooting it down. So now our own police force is shooting down our own military's drones. That's crazy, right? That wouldn't happen. But they don't know anything. There's police forces that have tried to find things out, and they've called people in the military base, and the military base people were like, yo, we don't know. We seen the same thing, but we don't know what that is either. That's super weird and sketchy, right? So now let's cover our bases, right? We have these gigantic drones that are flying around. They cannot have track. They don't have the normal trackers. Most of them, well, the real ones, don't have those normal lights, the green and red lights. So they look different. They're bigger. They fly longer. They can't be tracked. And nobody knows where they're coming from or where they're going. That's what we know. Guys, I wasn't going to admit all this right away, but I've hinted towards it and I've mentioned it a little bit, right? I have quite the past, okay? I used to fly water jetpacks. I used to literally fly around the water jetpacks all day long in Miami, teaching people how to fly, living it up, making $1,000 a day. Wonderful life I had. I made so much money that I opened up my own little construction company, little LLC construction company, flipping houses, flying jetpacks, living it up. Prior to that, as a child or a teenager in high school, I got a little drug habit, right? I kicked that shit. I changed my life. I was flying jetpacks. I was flipping houses. Well, that habit came back. And that shit took me... Okay, so let me explain to you, right? Some people, when they like get hooked on drugs, they go like this. They just, they crash land. Like, oh no, we're going down. We're crash landing, right? That's not how I do it. This is how I get hooked on drugs. I just fall right off the cliff, baby. I go right down to the bottom and I explode. That's how I do it, right? All or nothing, you know? So things got severely out of hand for me, you know, and I've lived crazy. I was running the streets for years, okay? Glad to say I am 4 years clean now. My life's completely different. YouTube is my only addiction and my only goal in life, and things are going fantastic, okay? Now I say that to say this. Trump just got into office. Trump is not a big fan of the cartels. He's not a big fan of drugs. He's never done a drug. He's never taken a drink. He's so against that stuff, right? And unfortunately, it's not just like heroin and cocaine and methamphetamine anymore, right? There's fentanyl. And fentanyl is killing people. And I can tell you the amount of times I've overdosed, but you wouldn't believe it. You literally wouldn't believe it. I know how I can get the proof too, and I was thinking about doing that eventually, but maybe once I get enough subs and like I build a community. You know, I don't want too many people judging me off the rip, so let's not get too in-depth with this whole drug thing. But that's where I'm going with this. I'm going with, if Trump's getting into office soon, he's going to shut down the border, which is how most of the drugs come in. He's going to be patrolling the waterways border. That's where most of the drugs come in. He's gonna basically put an end to the control or the cartel just walking into our country with whatever full of drugs, fentanyl particularly. What if the cartels, they have a lot of money. What if they bought some drones, paid somebody to take out the tracking chips, or maybe they built their own drones. They paid some guy to build their own drones, maybe, right? And now they're just flying in boatloads of drugs while they can. Now again, the government doesn't know what it is. It's like a crazy felony to shoot them down, so it can't be shot down. The government's doing literally nothing about it because, again, they can't really, let's say they really don't know what's going on. They can't just attack if they don't know where it's coming from or who it is or if there's a person in there. And there's too many factors to the point where they're not just going to randomly start shooting these suckers down. You know what I mean? So now they're flying in boatloads of fentanyl. And again, nobody knows where they're coming from. Nobody knows where they're landing. Wouldn't it be crazy to think that they have some yacht floating off the coast of New Jersey and they're flying drugs up into upstate New York or Pennsylvania in the mountains, stockpiling these drugs, and then selling them down to Newark, Patterson, Camden, Philly, New Jersey, big-time heroin places. Well, big-time drug states, to be honest with you, right? And then you hear, oh, there's ones in Miami, there's ones in California. I'm talking about drones, right? Oh, coincidence, right? Just all the big city areas. Who would have thought that's what they'd be interested in, regardless of where the drones are coming from or who the drones are really, or who's really controlling the drones. The cities would always be the target. It's the most populated. It's where you can see the most people, you get the most information. It's where the money is. The cities would make the most sense, I can't fly up, man. I have to just keep attacking ground targets because my drone right here is big, bulky. And you know what's crazy? Look at this. My drone is huge. It's big. It's bulky. It's tanking damage. But look how slow it is. That's another thing. These drones are going like 60, 70 miles an hour and maneuvering like on the drop of a dime. Like being able to just completely stop and jet the other way. And it's just amazing that I've flown drones before. I've had pretty good ones. I think they're like JBLs, they're called. They're like white and they have the stand on the bottom with like the camera. It was like $600. It was pretty expensive. And, the acceleration was okay. But again, that's from like a standstill. That's not just going one way, cut the other way. That doesn't work that way. If you did, you lose a little bit of control. You know what I mean? And again, you can't really go up too high because the higher you go, the thinner the air gets, which means you have less downforce from the propellers. So that plays a factor into everything as well. And again, they're extremely loud. That little electric motor going, and then the wind resistance on the propeller making the wind noise as well. Crazy, dude. Like, it's not silent. It's just not going to be silent. It never will be silent. And it's never going to sound like a jet airplane, because a lot of these videos, you'll see somebody and you literally will hear like, it's like, it's a jet. It's a 747 probably just flying back to Newark Airport. What are we talking about? And then I see all these YouTubers that are going around now doing these investigations, and they are clearly filming airplanes. They have the lights on them, like I said. They're literally flying low, and they're like, well, we're right by the airport. And then 5 minutes later, why is it flying so low on a straight trajectory? And it looks like it's going down. Oh, maybe they're landing the airplane? What are you talking about? If the video doesn't have two different things, it shouldn't even be talked about, okay? It needs to either have different style lights or no lights at all. And it has to maneuver crazy, okay? Because any aircraft, whether it's a helicopter or an airplane, they have to follow there's rules to the sky, They can't just be willy-nilly doing fighter jet dives and weaving in and out of buildings, That's not something people can do. So, if it's flying crazy, it's going zigzag side to side, it's flying really low, really fast, like dangerous, we'll call it, then obviously that's not an airplane, that's a drone. We now know it's a drone. Now and then we look at the lights. If all the drones have like the same lights as airplanes, because again, to a certain degree, depending on how big, how high, and how fast your drone is or can go, you need those lights because it's the same thing. Even for you as an operator, if you're looking at your drone, you need the green and red light to know whether or not it's going or coming. You know, at a certain distance, it's very hard to tell that unless you can see those lights. All right, so now all that being said, right, you have all these YouTubers, even news channels, playing these crazy videos of clearly airplanes. You know, I think Esmond Gold made a video, and I didn't see all of it, but even he was like, yo, these are airplanes, you know? These are airplanes. And Esmond, I just want to let you know, bro, not everybody in New Jersey is retarded. There's a lot of them. Listen, I'll give you it. I'll give you that, bro. New Jersey is not the place of scholars. I mean, we have Edison, the Edison Tower, and, you know, we've had a couple of good wise men come from here, but, you know, it is not known for its education system. That's for sure. Now, that being said, I think that is the classic, whether it's on purpose or it's just by happenstance, but it's the disinformation. So, like, people see that and then they laugh, like, yo, these are airplanes, everyone's crazy, the drones don't exist. Maybe that's a way of making it seem as if the drones aren't real and, like, this is all just some bullshit because they are real. And maybe they are military drones, and maybe they're trying to kill this story because they don't want it to get out, just by chance maybe. And especially now that it is out, there are a lot less sightings, if you've noticed. So maybe it was some military drone technology that was being tested, and they accidentally were seen. The rest of the videos were airplanes or other people's drones trying to look for the drones. And in reality, there was only really that one time where it was actually like this drone invasion, and it was our military doing it. And it's done. It's over. But now, you have everybody seeing planes. You have other people with drones, flying drones and looking for them. You have all this other extra shit that's expanding this invasion, which never really even happened, right? Now, I'm going to go back to the nuclear submarine thing, right? Like, that's scary, dude. That's scary. That's really, really scary. And what even made me think more towards maybe it is that is because when one of these happened, it was in Ocean County, and I seen something where, like, the police seen something, they were getting calls, they contacted the military base, and the military base was like, yo, we seen it too. And they even said, like, down by the shore, it's super, like, overcast, foggy, and really windy. Like, for someone to be able to fly a drone in those conditions, it's, like, ridiculous, right? But then again, you have to think, well, if they are looking for a nuclear sub and the conditions are bad, maybe that's why they weren't out there in a helicopter. Maybe that's why they were using the drones to look. Because they didn't want to risk somebody else's life, you know, flying a helicopter in shitty weather. You know, again, all speculation. But this is valid speculation because there's something we're going off of. The facts are, as far as we know, that drones were seen by multiple people. Groups of the drones that don't look like normal drones. There's ones with, like, custom weird lights. There's triangle ones. There's ones where the lights turn on and off. All the different subtleties that don't follow the standard get my drone at Walmart look to them, you know? It's more like customizable, military-like, something like that, you know? Now, nobody seems to know where they are because they can't be tracked. So we have these drones that don't really necessarily look exactly like regular drones. Like, we know they're propellers. We hear the propellers. We see the propellers. We know the propellers. Now, they are a little bit bigger. They're flying a lot longer than most... Ooh, I almost get the... they're flying longer than most drones you can fly. I don't even think... I think somebody mentioned, like, Elon Musk was asking about it because maybe... I don't know if this is for a fact, but I think they were saying that, like, those type of lithium-ion batteries don't even exist. That would allow them to fly for as long as they've been flying. But again, I didn't do too much research into this. I'm only going off of what I've seen because hearsay is nothing. It means nothing in this world. But from what I've seen, what I've heard from people I somewhat trust, and like family members, and then from a couple of select videos that like I feel are real, that's where I'm getting all this from, right? And again, we have an example. We've seen the videos. We know this is happening. Whether it just happened once, and like I said, everything that came after was just airplanes and other just recreational drones, or whether it is actually these drones every single time you see these videos. And obviously, like I said, there are a bunch of airplane ones. But what I'm saying, when you see the videos that are like, okay, those are different. Those are definitely not normal drones. Every time you see those videos, if those aren't just recreational people, but they're all from the same, let's call it an organization as of right now. So they're all coming from the same place and they all are part of the same thing, the invasion, right? If that's real, then there's no way the government shouldn't be doing everything they can to investigate this, right? The government had no problem, absolutely no problem, sending an entire SWAT team to a man's house to kick the door in, take his pets, and get rid of his pets. No problem doing that. Drop of a hat, boom, done, it's over. Overnight. We woke up one morning and that happens, you know? The drones have been going on for weeks. And the best answer you get from any government official is what? We're looking into it. What? I also want to say that in the year of 2024, soon to be 2025, we have more cameras on the planet than we've ever had in existence prior to this. Probably if you added up all the cameras that existed before and added all those up, the amount that's going on right now or active right now, just posted up around the world, it's probably way more. It's probably way more. I know cities where there's multiple cameras in every single corner. Then the stores have cameras. Then the people are walking around with cameras on their phone, right? So I say that to say this. There's two different things I'm going to say. One, I understand that, oh, well, why didn't you film it if you saw something and da-da-da-da-da. There's so many cool things, let's say like my dog did, or weird things I've seen, that by the time I get my phone out and get the camera and start recording, it's over. And I have the thing where I could just like swipe my phone and then hit camera and it opens right up. And even then, that's still not fast enough sometimes, you know? And in any classic alien movie or TV show you've ever seen, you're going to see where, oh, there's some type of electronic interference and the video's fuzzy, or it's all blurred out, or it shuts off your recording device. Like, that's probably, if they are advanced beings, that's probably 1000% a possibility. That they can basically, like, control the EMP in your direction and kind of, like, mess with your phone or your camera, right? That I do believe. I would 100% believe that. Now, that being said, even if that was possible and we can notice a pattern of, okay, these cameras are going off and they're going off from here to here in this succession, then we can know at least where they're coming from, where they're going, the direction, right? So if they start off in, let's say, Tom's River, and then next thing you know, they're in Philly, but the cameras from the shoreline all the way into Philly, you follow the cameras that are being shut off along the way, you could follow the path in which it took. It's almost like you're seeing it, but you're not. It's actually just telling on itself, right? Now, that being said, how can we not just, like, go through the cameras on the days which there are reports? Because now we have reports to follow. We have locations of where, you know, drones have been sighted. So we have a good guesstimate as to where and when we can look for them. Why aren't they doing that? Because that guy that just got shot, that CEO, didn't they go through like thousands of hours of like store and street camera footage to like track him down and catch him without a mask? Didn't they do that? Isn't that how they caught him? So you're telling me some nut job that was mad at an insurance company and just, you know, assassinated this CEO, that is way more of a threat than a supposed either alien invasion, terroristic invasion, or Terminator invasion. You know, though all those seem way worse to me than just some random guy who has a beef with some other guy. But that's taken way more serious. A pet squirrel, a pet raccoon, that's way more serious. You know, no, the drones, no, nothing to see here. We don't know, and who cares, right? No, we don't care. And again, you know, maybe it really is like just an advertisement from a drone company. You know, I would love to see the statistic as to the sales increase on drones for Christmas this year. I would love to see how many more drones were bought this year on Christmas than the last 5 years. Probably more than the last 5 years added up, to be honest, right? Now, I know I'm just ranting, and the gameplay wasn't anything spectacular. I couldn't really get up and do anything, so I was attacking some ground things, but the way that I mounted the guns really should be the focus, as well as the little discussion. But the way I mounted those guns in there, like, that's cool, man. And there's other cabs where you can do that. Like, check this out. You have, I believe, I'm sorry. One of these has something very similar to it. I think it's this one. No, it's not. One of the cabs has like almost the exact same slot. Is it this? Nope. This has the back open. I know that. Oh, the humpback. I'm sorry. There it is. So the humpback has this, but then you'd have to do it backwards facing, right? So you have to mount the back of the cab on the edge, hit your reverse button and fly in reverse. And for anybody who doesn't know, if you've never done that, I'll make a video of settings eventually, but you can invert your backwards flying. So it should be control inversion while in rear view right here. So this will make it that if you do hit the inversion button and you are basically going backwards, like within hover particularly, it won't be inverted to where left is right and right is left. You'll actually still be able to completely drive around backwards as if you were going forward. It's fantastic. For any of your backwards builds, you know, and I know they're not as popular, but there are pretty good backwards builds. That's very helpful, right? Now, I don't even want to get an hour into this, guys. That's all I had to say, right? Maybe there's some other ship floating up there and the drones are coming down because the atmosphere, or they're trying to blend in or trick us. Like, oh, look, we're just regular drones. Don't look at us, right? Maybe they are the aliens. Maybe they are. Who knows? Maybe the government is looking for some nuclear sub that took off, and that's why they're patrolling over the waters, because it's a submarine that they're looking for, and they're not necessarily coming from the water, but they're just going out into the water to look, and when they're coming back, people are seeing them coming back. Who knows, right? It could also just be a military drone experiment, like, oh, we have a new drone we're going to try out. It's gigantic. Look at this cool new drone. Somebody seen that. The report came out. Everybody saw the video, went nuts. The government took the video off the internet, but ever since then, people have been recording airplanes. They've been recording other people flying drones, looking for drones, and then those videos flooded the internet. So now we're thinking it's an invasion, when in reality it was just the government flying their drones one time, and of course they're not going to tell us about it because it's a secret military project. And now we're looking for something that's not even really even there, right? Or it could always be the classic brainwashing technique by a corporation. Buy your drones, buy your drones, buy our drones, buy drones, buy drones, buy drones. We need drones, 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 drones. Everything on the news, drones this, drones that, drone. And then you hear YouTubers and news stations saying, well, why don't people just get their own drones and fly up and try to get a picture, you know? So now you as a consumer, you're sitting there and you're going, oh shit, that's a good idea. I don't need to pay rent this month. Let me buy a drone. Oh, I'm going to buy a drone. Like, come on, dude. It's crazy, bro. The reality of it is this. Whatever it is, whatever it was, whatever it isn't, we'll never know. We will never know. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. We're never going to know. We can only speculate. And I just think it's so funny that it's becoming this big thing on the internet, and it's just guys standing in a parking lot videotaping like planes, and they're getting these crazy views, you know. And again, I'm not a jealous guy, and I never knock anybody else. Do your thing, do what you do, right? But it's just I'm just amazed. I'm like, yo, guys, if you're gonna do this and you're gonna like make this whole big production to be like, we're hunting drones, like, maybe use your brain a little bit and put some like good effort into like an idea of what's happening rather than just repeating nonsense you've heard while recording literal airplanes. Okay. I have a lot of good ideas. Maybe I'll make more videos like this. I don't know. We'll see how this goes, to be honest. But again, I'm full-time content creator, streaming occasionally. That'll get a little bit more often. We're running out of funds over here, guys. I need to start somehow making money in some way, shape, or form. But I'm not giving up on this. I don't care if I have to literally be living in a box under a bridge using Starlink and streaming and posting content. I'll do it. I'll do whatever it takes. This is my goal. This is my new addiction. This is the only thing that I want in life. And the only goal is this: to be able to survive comfortably, to be able to make sure my family survives comfortably, and to make sure that when the aliens come, I got a bunker. I don't mean that, bro. Relax. Jesus. He knows what I'm talking about. But have a good day. Have a good night. Whatever's going on. I just wanted to get this out there because, you know, I'm literally in the middle of New Jersey. So I seen some stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to, like, I don't want to put a thing out there that, like, even I'm uncertain as to what I've seen. My cousin swears he's seen some stuff. I know a couple other people who have seen some stuff. I've seen a video of something from some girl at the store. It's happening. It's definitely happening. And like, but the question is, what's happening? You know what I'm saying? It very well could just be we're all filming planes and other people flying drones. The initial event is the real question. What started all of this? And it very well could just be a distraction tactic. It could just be something else big is going on. Like we're voting on something that's going to be like really big for like companies, or we did some fucked up thing where we bombed somebody by accident, or something really bad is happening. And this is just the distraction. That's the classic thing. That's why I didn't really go with that, because I'm like, you know, they do that all the time. So when they're doing it, we probably will never know because they just do it so often that anytime something is like polarizing and it's taking our attention, that's my first thought is like, oh, well, something really bad must have happened because now they're distracting us, you know, but whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know, if you like stuff like this and you like me talking about stuff, like, I don't know, maybe I'll get more into it and maybe I'll make like a different day for like just discussions, you know. We'll do a stream, we'll have a chat, we'll talk about whatever's going on, certain topics, whatever. But we'll see how this goes over, you know. I just hit 400 subs. Fantastic. I woke up to 402 subs. Very happy. Extremely happy. Very grateful. Thank you, subscribers. I had a very weird hole in my boat where I was like leaking subscribers, like 1 or 2 would just disappear. But I guess maybe that's because I'm saying too much real shit. Some people don't like that, but I can only censor myself so much. And when I say I'm censoring myself, it's not like I'm pretending to be someone else. It's just that I'm a 90s kid. Let's just leave it at that. I'm an Italian man, grew up in an Italian family who lives in New Jersey, who grew up in the 90s. I talk a certain way. I use certain words. That's just what we did. You know what I'm saying? It's very hard to have stopped myself from doing those things. Simple as that. All right. Enough rambling. Thanks for watching the video. I truly appreciate every single one of you, whether you subscribed, whether you didn't, if you liked, even if you disliked. I appreciate you. And I just want you to know that if you're just a hater to hate, things will get better for you. And I hope things will get better for you because they did for me. And I don't wish misery on anybody. So, peace.